Claude dropped Claude for Small Business, which is really a collection of connectors and a plugin that was built specifically for small business owners. Um, I kind of just wanted to pick your brain about where you think the most value can be, extracted from the plugin and, what connectors we're using on a day-to-day basis that would be applicable to Claude for Small Business. So, I mean, first off, let's just kind of go through the connectors that are available. These aren't necessarily like the only connectors available. These are just the ones that they pulled out for Cloud for Small Business. QuickBooks, PayPal, HubSpot, DocuSign, Canva, Slack, Microsoft 365 or Google Suite. These are all kind of very basic tools that a lot of small business owners already are using, which is kind of what Cloud was going for. How do you see these connectors kind of coming together in this context?
Yeah, I think that before I kind of dive into that, my overall point of view is that this is probably the biggest thing that Claude has released for small businesses. To be honest with you, there's so many different tools that could be used independently, but this being that release that in my opinion has now turned Claude into like a true operating system for a small business. Now, obviously, if it's a really big business, there's way more factors than just these typical skills and tools within the plugin. But for small businesses, which makes up like almost 40% of all businesses, uh, we'll call it this stack, this operating system of tools really is the full boat. It does pretty much everything that you would need it to do as a small business operator. We're going to touch on some of those things here today, I think, and we'll probably do deep dives on some of the other things that are within it. But yeah, I just wanted to start with that. Like, this is huge. Don't take this lightly. This is one of the biggest things in AI right now that I think most influencers are kind of like just skipping right over, probably because it's not the here's how to make money with AI bit. No, this is actually for real working businesses and how you can start using AI in a real capacity. And there's like so many different things that we could talk about. For one, I think where a lot of small business owners and operators struggle or have not much experience with is on the financial side. And so being able to connect like your QuickBooks, which we use, and other tools that relate back to your finances, you're able to get a real granular look at your business and profit and loss statements and things that really show projections of just on how things are looking, how to manage your finances better, right? And as easy it is asking Claude to go and search your financials and maybe produce a prospectus or to tell you how things are looking for payroll or whatever it is, for all intents and purposes, in the finance department, Claude could literally be your CFO and advise you on some pretty high level financial decisions. So this is not financial advice, by the way, but the fact that you can now connect your Claude account with QuickBooks at the push of a button and have it mine the data that's in there is pretty mind blowing. And that's just scratching the surface. So for me, it would have to be the QuickBooks thing as an operator, just knowing where the business is at from the day to day, and then also making big moves, how to plan those big moves based on income and trends. It's a game changer.
Yeah, definitely. I think the great thing about, this product as a whole is they didn't build it for one specific portion of small business. It is kind of a general tool, which you can see through the connectors, kind of the variety of tools they're allowing to be available, and also through the plugin, which is basically a collection of skills. You see a wide range of different business outcomes happening in those skills. I mean, you just touched on finance. That's a big one. There's, let's see, probably 10 different skills based purely around finances. But then you also have other areas like sales and marketing, your sales pipeline, CRM, customer service. Like it touches a lot of different areas of business, which I think is super powerful. Um, and I think that's good because a lot of small businesses will have different struggles in different areas. Like it's not always necessarily going to be the finance that is a small business's problem. It could be sales and marketing. Like they're not sure where to go in that area. So having that wide range of different tools available, I think is what really makes it valuable.
Yeah, and I mean, you just said it too. It's like all the tools that we're already using are now on the table. And going into the agentic era, I mean, we're talking about agents now. Can you like give me some of your thoughts on how that's going to change small business in general, really, and the fact that now all this stuff is becoming agentic, all the tools that we currently use today, but more importantly, that they're now all connected in one place, and that's Claude. So instead
Yeah.
of having to use 365 and use these apps independently, you can now summon them all within Claude to use Claude as your business OS. But yeah, what's your thoughts on that? Uh, Given the fact that everything's becoming agentic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we always say it, it's systems over tools. And they're making that really easy by just connecting everything for you, instead of you having to be the one to make that effort, which I think that's huge. And I think on the agentic front, what we're moving towards is allowing small businesses to focus on what they find important. Most people aren't starting a small business because they want to spend hours in QuickBooks. That's not the reason for their business. So having kind of that support in those areas that aren't necessarily your passion, I think will bring a lot of relief to small business owners, just because they're no longer the ones that have to do a lot of that heavy lifting. Hopefully Claude can help with that and allow them to spend more time focusing on the things that they enjoy doing.
Yep. Yep. So um, the other side of this too, which we talked about in the last time that we were on talking about note taker tools, was the I think the barrier to what's keeping a lot of businesses away from AI, or at least really slowing their progression with it, is the trust factor. And I was just reading through Anthropic's notes in the small business collection. I just want to kind of touch on some of these points because I think they're really, really key in many businesses who would not have adopted AI potentially now starting to do that. So, and I'm just going to read off of Anthropic's list here, and it says, security is built in as the foundation. It's not bolted on. It does not train models on your business data. That's really key. And this third point for me is the game changer. Is it respects your existing tools permissions. So it will only be able to do what you currently allow within those apps. So if you have permissions set, it stays within those guardrails. And I'll give you an example. If an employee can't see something in Gmail or DocuSign today, they still will not be able to see it in Claude. So you're still setting the permissions for those apps within those apps permission sets. Claude is literally just you're giving Claude an agentic step forward into those apps to use them the way that you've already set them up and designed them, which is amazing. Like you don't need to hire 16 IT people to configure this thing so that it maintains your permission levels. Like it's already just going to run off of that. So it couldn't even get any more easier than that. That's a huge one for me because I know that every time that we bring on a new tool, we have to go through that whole process of setting the permissions so that it's like in line with everything else that we do.
Yeah.
That's not going to change if you bring a new tool in, but it's going to keep everything in line on the Claude side, really, so that you have full control over that. The next one is full visibility into which tool Claude is touching before it acts. What do they mean by that? Actually, I was a little bit confused by that.
Yeah, when you give Claude a task, it kind of walks you through in live time. It'll show you what it's doing. Um, you'll always see this on my cowork. You'll see basically it'll pull up whatever tool it's trying to use, and then with the permission level stuff, like if you have it set where it needs to ask permission, you'll see that come up and it'll say, "This is the tool I'm trying to use. This is the function within that tool that I'm trying to use. Am I allowed to do so?" And then you say yes or no. And then beyond that, if you have it set to always allow for a tool, it still shows you, this is what I'm doing. This is the sub tool that I'm using. That way you can watch it do what it's doing and you know exactly where it's at, which I think is really important because if you do see it start to maybe veer off track, you have that ability to stop it and say, this isn't, what I was looking for, go this other route. So that's kind of what they mean by full visibility. You're able to see what tools are being called and in what context they're being called.
Right. So you still approve every action by default. Like it's asking you. It's not running off like OpenClaw did or does.
Not not necessarily. I mean, it's based on what you set. So like if you set it to always allow, it isn't necessarily going to ask for permission, but it is going to show you what it's doing. And vice versa, if you set it to where you need to give permission, it will stop, ask for permission, tell you what it's trying to do, and then go about it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Um, that was the big one for me was the trust part. Is there anything that stands out to you specifically, whether it's skill related or just overall?
I think, I mean, the portion about security is probably the most important, I would say, because as cool as all of these different skills are, if you don't trust the model itself and what it's doing, that's a big issue. You're not going to want to implement it. So the fact that they're not training on any of the data that you're putting in, I think that's huge, um, especially in a business context, just because there is a lot of information that doesn't necessarily need to be out there. So knowing that they are committed to not using that data to train their new models is a big piece. And then outside of that, yeah, I think the plugin with the just long list of skills is really useful. And on top of that, they are encouraging business owners to make tweaks to those skills just because every business is going to be different. So thinking of those, that list, I believe it's somewhere around 30. They have 30 different skills within the small business plugin, and you have access to edit any of them. So you can go in, if you go into the plugin and you go into a skill, you can see exactly what the instruction set is. And if there's small tweaks that you need for your specific business, you're able to do that, which I think makes it, so much more useful because it's the foundation you need. And then you can make those small tweaks to make it better fit your business.
That's crazy. Like imagine being able to customize a piece of software off the shelf. Like you can't even do that. But
Yeah.
here they're saying, here's the default, go customize it. That's huge.
Yeah.
If you know what you're doing,
Yeah.
right? And you almost don't even need to know what you're doing because you could run a skill and ask Claude, we need to customize this skill. Oh, really? How would you like to customize it? Well, let's try doing this. Okay. And then basically write your own piece of software into a new skill.
Yeah. I mean, there's two skills within the plugin. That is SMB onboard, which the description says walks a new owner through connecting their first two tools, runs one recipe to prove value, and interviews them about their business and stores that context for every other skill. And then there's also the SMB router, which routes open-ended or vague requests to the right skill. So like it's built for people who aren't super familiar with how skills work, how connectors work. It's built for those people, which I think is super valuable.
Right. And so you like understanding how to use Claude in that capacity is key. Just really being able to leverage Claude to walk you through everything and help you customize everything.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I actually have a note right here, and that is, so we talked about QuickBooks. We talked about how valuable it is now with Claude, where you can get just a quick read on your financial position, right? But okay, so let's say you have that data. Let's say that you woke up and part of your morning brief was, hey, Claude, how are we looking financially? And Claude says, oh, it looks like we're down this quarter. And you go, okay, what if we ran some campaigns? For sure. Claude will go in and make recommendations on promo strategies, things that you've done in the past, things that maybe have bumped those numbers. Or you could ask it to look outside just to give you new, fresh perspective on new business, new markets, new products, anything. So now you have a thinking partner at the highest level where, you just didn't have this in the past. We're talking like six figures in consulting deals before you would really have this kind of insight into your business in real time, right? Or you'd have to have a piece of software custom built for you to pull these KPIs, to pull these analytics about your business so that you could be agile and pivot if you had to. So campaign planning to me is major because, let's say you run HubSpot and you're looking at specific segments and you're not sure what you should do in the next quarter, you could easily ask Claude to go on and investigate and Claude will come back and give you really good ideas. So like the whole idea of being able to think through um, maybe issues that you're having with whether it's income or new business development, then being able to tell Claude, hey, Claude, come up with some good ideas on how we can do things differently is massive, massive. So yeah, campaign planning. That's a big one.
Yeah, I think that's the point. Is like these skills kind of mesh together. Just like that example you gave right there, where you're looking at, you know, QuickBooks or whatever it may be, and getting, your sales data, and then if you do need to go do that content strategy, there's a skill for that. So like they can be strung together to touch different areas of your business.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, you know how we were talking about the AI note takers and how simple of a tool that seems, but how
Mm-hmm.
like really underutilized it is. Once you really start to use it, it gives you so much leverage. Um, you know what the other one to me is, and it's gonna
Hmm.
sound silly, but it's the morning brief. Like it's so amazing to just go, hey Claude, where are we at based on what we did yesterday, and what do we got coming up to tomorrow or the rest of the week? And it just within seconds you have the most detailed perspective. I mean, it's awesome. What's
Yeah.
your experience with it? Do you use the morning brief?
I've used it a few times. It is nice to just have like a one-stop shop instead of having to go, jump between all your different systems to see where you're at. I think that's the benefit of it is it's able to pull all that information into one quick summary instead of you having to jump around and scroll emails and scroll Slack and see where you're at numbers wise. So yeah, I think it takes a little bit of that tension off in the morning where you're not having to have like a checklist of things that you have to go check. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you know your business needs AI, but you're not sure where to start, Claude School for Business is the perfect resource. We've built it specifically for business owners and operators who are ready to integrate AI, but don't know how to take the first step. It is completely free to join, and you get access to foundational courses about AI and the Anthropic ecosystem. It also has a guide to get your business OS set up. If you're interested in joining, check out claudeschool.com or check the link in the description. Thanks.